I want to do something a little different today. I want to talk about something a little different. I want to tell you about the greatest life lesson I learned in dealing with people. And I'm going to tell it to you in the form of two stories. Both happened to me, one in which I learned the power of applying this lesson. Let's just jump right in. I was a bartender for about 14 years. Fairly early on in my career, I was working in a neighborhood restaurant. It's an upscale restaurant. My solo day was Tuesdays, which were a very slow day, so I didn't make a lot of money. But I had a regular who would come in, and he was very wealthy, like a venture capitalist of some sort. I don't know the exact details, but he made lots of money, lived a very, very wealthy lifestyle, and was a very generous guy. That's all I really know about him at this point. But we have good conversations, and he seems to really like me. So Christmas comes around, and he is known for hosting this huge, big Christmas party, and he invites me to it. No one else in the restaurant got invited. I got invited. That's a pretty big deal. I go to the party, and it's in a fancy part of town, in a gated community. I pull up, there's all these, like really expensive cars parked along the driveway, and he's got like 3 Ferraris in the garage that he's showing off to some of the guys. He's got 2 wine cellars. He's got a wine cellar in the house itself, and then he's got this huge like glass room off his pool that's just floor-to-ceiling wine racks in his pool house. So, this is the lifestyle this guy's living. And I kind of already feel really out of place. Like everybody at the party seems to be, guys in tailored suits and women in these great gowns, and just everything just reeks of wealth. And at this point in my life, I've been a bartender for a couple of years. I had already owned and lost a business and lost my house to foreclosure a couple years earlier, and basically had hit like one of the lowest points in my life. So I'm not feeling real great about my status in this group. The host, Joe, he's showing me around and putting his arm around me and talking to me, and he really is like really talking to me. And I feel like I've got a friend here. And then, he's got, 100 other guests. So he's going off and talks to those other guests and stuff. And at some point, 3 guys, all very, in tailored suits, very like C-suite looking guys, approach me. And they start with kind of small talk. And they kind of get around to, and I feel where this is going. They're trying to figure out who I am. And they're kind of beating around the bush. And I know sooner or later is coming the standard question, so what do you do? And I really don't want to answer that question because I don't feel very good about saying I'm a bartender to guys who I know are like millionaires and, who are trying to figure out who I am and like why I'm important, and it's not going to impress them. Like, obviously that's an ego thing, but that's how I was feeling. And right as one of the guys says, so what do you do? And right at that moment, like as the words are coming out of his mouth, I feel an arm around my shoulder, and it's Joe sitting right next to me. And he goes, Charles is a great friend of mine. I'm glad you guys got to meet him. I want to introduce him to somebody. And he introduces me to a couple of women standing a little ways over, and had that conversation. And I realized that he saw that interaction coming. He saw that I was uncomfortable. He saw where it was going, and he just cut it off. He intercepted it and made sure. And for the rest of that night, he kind of kept an eye on me, and he would take me out to the pool to show me his wine collection, or to the garage to show me his cars and stuff. And I began to understand that he was treating me differently than his other guests. One, he was protecting me. He didn't want them to look down on me, but also that the conversations him and I were having were really more personal. And the weird thing was, I began to realize that I'm this bartender and he's living this lifestyle that I can't even grasp. Like, the things he owns, the things he's done, and the people he's introducing me to. But he's kind of showing off to me. Like, he's showing me the wine cellar, and it's not because he's proud of it, it's because he wants me to be impressed. He's asking my opinion. At one point, he was like, hey, go grab a bottle, let's open a bottle of wine, go grab something. I was like, well, what should I grab? He's like, whatever you want. I'm like, one of these bottles is worth more than I make in a week. Like, and he's just, whatever, dude, like, grab one that you want to try. One, he's being extraordinarily generous. At the same time, I get the feeling like, yeah, he wants to impress me, which means in a way, he kind of looked up to me, which is really weird, but important lesson. But the thing was that he saved me. Like, he saved me that social embarrassment, and I never forgot that. In fact, years later, I sat him down and I told him that story because he'd never heard it, and about how it made me feel. I could see it really impacted him to know that he'd done something that good for me. So that's That's how I learned that lesson about it's really important to protect people and to care about people. If you care about somebody, to really show them that in meaningful ways. Now I want to tell you the other story about how being on the other side of that felt. So about the same time that I'm friends with Joe, I've got another friend, and through her, she's another bartender, and through her, I meet this guy, we'll call him Ron. So Ron is a great guy, very, very kind, very generous and caring. He's going through a divorce. He's feeling pretty down on himself. He's got like low self-confidence and low self-esteem. I got to know him a little bit and, would hang out with him when I was hanging out with her. By now I'm at a different job and work at this place, which is just like the busiest bar in town. It's packed like a nightclub on weekends, and it's loud and it's noisy. And when it's at peak, like, the bar is just like 5 deep. There's just rows and rows of people just clamoring to get drinks, and there's time for conversation or anything like that. So one night he comes in, and I see him in the crowd, and we kind of make eye contact, and he's like, 20 feet away from the bar, and it's gonna take him a while to even get up there. So I kind of keep an eye on him, and I'm serving drinks and doing my thing. And when he gets up to the bar, and he's really into Negronis, so I just slide a Negroni across the bar to him, give him a kind of a wink, and then just go back to work with everybody else. To me, that was like, he's my friend, and I can do a nice thing for him. So I got his drink, the drink he likes, ready, and he doesn't have to wait, doesn't have to order, he's not in line, and I just comped it for him. I didn't, put it on my comp tab, didn't have to pay for it. That was it. That was the end of it. To me, that was it. A couple years go by, we kind of lose contact. Pre-COVID, this is probably the last time I really talked to him. We're friends on social media, but we don't see each other, we don't really communicate very much. And then come last week, he gets in touch with me and he says he's gonna come into my new bar. I'm working in like a small, intimate cocktail bar, very quiet, good place to have conversations. And he's sitting at the bar, and a married couple sits down next to him, and he strikes up a conversation with them. And I'm talking to him a little bit, deal with my other guests and do my job, and then come back and talk to him some more. And finally, after a while, I went back to check on him and this couple, and he's relating the story of the Negroni. It is him telling them how great that made him feel. And by now, this is like 8 years ago. And he is completely lit up, just feels so good remembering this story and how I made him feel, because after I slid him the drink and walked away, the people around him who'd been waiting and waiting and waiting to get cocktails because it was so busy were like, "Are you the owner? Like, why did you get treated so special?" And it made him feel so important. Just that little act right there made him feel so important. And I realized that was the same thing my friend Joe did for me all those years ago. And now I got to be in Joe's shoes. And I tell you, man, it made me feel really good. Like, I started blushing because to me, it was a little thing. It was a nothing thing. It was something I do all the time. But I think back to now my career as a bartender, and I see how incorporating like those little moments when I have done those things. And I look at all the people that keep coming back to my bar and keep coming back to me specifically. They're like, "Oh, I want Charles to make my drinks," because they feel special. And the way of making somebody feel special is really just paying attention to them and making them feel seen. And it's as simple as those little things. I never forgot that lesson, though I never really put it into words. I just knew how Joe had made me feel. And I did little things in my life to the people around me that I cared about to make them feel that way. And then as a bartender, I began to extend that to guests that I liked. Even if it's the first time I met you. If you come in and I feel like you're a genuine person and I want you to have a good time, and I'm gonna do those little special things. And it's little things. It's not big things. It's little things, like making sure that there's clutter on their table, there's used napkins and stuff, just picking it up without saying a word, getting out of the way, making them feel cared for, looked after. And radically changed my career because I started earning so much more money and getting rave reviews and getting more opportunities because of it. But it also changed my personal life because the people around me in my personal life outside of work, I do the same things for. Like, I just do little things. Like, I notice a little thing and I do it for them. And I'm not good at grand gestures. Like, I forget birthdays and holidays, and I can't ever think of the right gift to buy somebody. That's not how my mind really works. But I notice little things, and I do little things like that for people. And I regularly hear stories about something someone else said about me, some story someone else told about me to a mutual friend, and they come back and they say, "Dude, do you know this?" And it's getting to the point where it's kind of like happening really often. And I'm beginning to realize that that's the impact that this has. You know, I don't really know where else to go with this. Like, I just wanted to share that story and let you see how it feels to be on both sides, to have somebody treat you that way. And if nobody has, I hope someone does. And if you have the opportunity to do something small but kind for somebody else that makes them feel like they matter just a little bit to you, then do it. This small gesture of saving me from the social embarrassment, 10 years later, 12 years later, I'm still talking about it and thinking about it, and Joe is still in my mind even though we're not in contact on the regular. And 8 years later, Ron is still talking and sharing the story about me. And when he was telling his friends, I found out, this couple at the bar, I found out that like he tells this to people all the time. And it's amazing to me that I can have that impact, and it's so easy. Why wouldn't you? It's so easy. It makes their life so much better, and as a result, your life becomes better. But that's I guess that's the one caveat is you can't do it with an agenda. You have to do it from a place of really caring. You have to really be like, I want you to feel like I care about you, like I see you, like you're special to me in some way, even if it's just because you just met them and they're like, you know, hey, like you're a human being who deserves love and respect, and you know, I'm gonna open this door for you. This kind of thinking about how life works is a big part of becoming more self-aware and more authentic and moving through life in a better way that is more fulfilling and more meaningful. And that is what I do as a coach. So if you got something out of this and you feel like you want to get more of this in your life and kind of learn these kind of things on a deeper level, there's a link down below. You can make an appointment to talk with me personally, and we can figure out whether maybe joining one of my coaching programs is a good fit for you. And if not, that's cool too. Sometimes what you're after isn't really what I have to offer. Maybe I can offer you some resources. At the very least, like and subscribe, and you know, you can continue to watch these videos and get something out of it. So anyway, Charles, peace. Y'all have a good day.